Hello again, everybody. Johnny Be Good here, located in Bolingbrook, Illinois. Interstate 55, just about 8 miles south of the 294 bypass, which I will be taking. Once again, I am 251 miles to Oconto Falls. Oconto Falls is located about 30 miles north of Green Bay, Wisconsin. I have a load of scrap paper, shredded paper, the kind of paper that the mouse and rats would love to nest on. I'll try to do a video later about what this thing looks like. It makes a whole lot of mess in the trailer. A lot of garbage and scrap paper. It's all shredded. And so anyway, I am 4 hours and 24 minutes according to GPS. That's without stopping. Now, I only have 8 hours and 8 minutes left to drive. On my earlier video, I mentioned that I hope they will unload me right away. Here's why. I need at least 30 minutes of driving time from Oconto Falls back to our terminal in De Pere, Wisconsin. If they take their time longer than the 8 hours, or even at 7, let's say they empty me at 7 hours and 24 minutes from now, I will not be able to drive anywhere. I will have to sit at Oconto Falls for 10 hours before I can drive again. Now, who wants to go and do that? Best case scenario is if I get there, they'll unload me right away. That way I will have enough hours to get to the yard. And here's the best part. This week I left my motorcycle at our terminal as my service vehicle. It's all covered up, and so the anticipation of going back to the yard tonight and be able to ride my motorcycle home is sometimes, right now, beyond I can handle. I find myself difficult to sit still on in the anticipation of going home. So again, remember I said earlier that we truck drivers are allowed to work in 14 hours. Now you gotta do what you gotta do within 14 hours. Meaning to say, once you punch in, you cannot stop that 14-hour rule. So even if you just sit somewhere or get held up in traffic. Now remember, we truck drivers, most of us don't get paid by the hour. We get paid by the miles. So if we're not driving, chances are we're not getting paid. So let's just say you punch in at 12 o'clock noon. You drive for 30 minutes. And in some instances, you drive for 30 minutes and you hit a blank wall of traffic and you sit there for 8 hours. How many hours can you drive then? So you had 11 hours minus 30 minutes, right? So you got 10 and a half hours that you were able to drive. But since your 14-hour rule is about to end, so you could only drive, so what, another 3 hours or so? So that's the way it works. Basically, your driving time depends on the 14-hour rule. Even though even though you only drove for 10 and a half hours, but since your 14-hour rule is down to 3 hours, that means you can only drive for 3 hours, not the whole 10 hours. So that's the way it works. So once again, this is the part I kind of like. I love and hate this part. Anticipating and going home. It seems like time stands still when you want to go home. It seems like the hardest run is the run to the house. The hours never seem to run fast enough. It seems to sit still. I know it's all just psychological, but hey, we are a psychological race. So, and another thing too, after being gone for 5 weeks, my mind is racing to the things that I could do or want to do. And this happens all the time, and somehow I never learned from my mistake. This happens all the time. I start planning about where to go, ride my motorcycle somewhere, maybe go to Iowa, go to Minnesota, or go to Toledo, or go a really long distance drive on my motorcycle. And all these things that I need to do at the house, you know. And then once I get there, either I don't have any money for gas, or it's raining, or something comes up, and at the end of the home time, I accomplished absolutely nothing. It happens every time. And I'm trying to control my mind not to expect so much, not to plan out so many things, because I just end up being disappointed. And so I kind of just like, I'll go along as I go along, you know. I'll cross the bridge when I cross the bridge. For example, this week, I've been gone for 5 weeks. And here we are. Believe it or not, it's May 31st. And to me, in my world, it seems like summer is almost gone as far as my motorcycle riding days. So I consider May not being able to go anywhere is somewhat the end of my motorcycle trips. Not that I've ever done any motorcycle trip, but the longest I ever did was from Wisconsin all the way to where did I go? Wisconsin all the way to Mackinac Bridge and Michigan. And once I was in Michigan, I looked at the map how far Sault Ste. Marie, Canada was. I think it was only like 50 miles. So I decided to go there. Let's see, make sure I'm going the right way here. Okay, then once I got to Sault Ste. Marie, I just turned around and I ended up way over there by, oh, what is the name of that place? Copper Harbor, or, yeah, Copper Harbor, I think it is. Way, way, way up there in the peninsula of Michigan. I think that's Michigan, yeah. Michigan or Wisconsin. But either way, I ended up driving 800 miles that day. And I loved it. That was pure joy. And I think it was at the end of the summer that I did that. because I remember it started snowing, a little flurries, and it got cold. But I tell you what, I was so gung-ho about getting my motorcycle, I could have probably ridden it for another 300-400 more miles and not get tired. As I mentioned in my earlier videos, I wish there was a job out there that involved riding a motorcycle. I'd be on it in a heartbeat. I'd be willing to drive 100,000 miles a year. 100,000 miles a year on a motorcycle. I figured if I could drive 150,000 miles in my semi a year, I could probably drive my motorcycle, ride my motorcycle, at least 100,000 miles a year, right? Wouldn't that be fun? Oh, what a fun I could have. But there are those who are born with the silver spoon in their mouth. There are those who are born without it. And there are those who are born with the silver spoon and lost it. I'm the third one. I'm on the third category. My father was a very, very, very wealthy person. But for some reason, he didn't act rich. He didn't live rich. My father was a very, very practical person. He was perfect not, I can tell you that. He had his own share of faults and character. But he never bought a brand new car, never bought anything brand new, always used. In fact, the first winter jacket that I had coming here in the United States came out of a dumpster. Imagine that. My father was a multi-millionaire, but he went dumpster diving back in 1980s. I guess back then dumpster diving was not illegal then. Oh dear, look at the time. 13 minutes and 20 seconds. So we'll catch you later. Peace.